Hello all, welcome to www.bispsolutions.com. Today we will see logic accounts in data management. So to define logic accounts, they are dynamically generated accounts and are used to calculate supplemental values that are not provided in the source file. In PBCS data management, a logic group is used to apply additional transformations or calculations to the data during the load process. These logic groups can be applied to specific data load rules to automate certain tasks like calculating values, adjusting data, or performing specific logic on the data before it is loaded into the target application. Now let us take one case scenario using logic groups in PBCS data management to handle a practical business situation. So now you can see on the screen there is a sample data. This is from LIT Limited. Here you can see account in the first column, entity in the second, and amount in the third column. So LTC Limited wants to load operational expenses into PBCS for planning purposes, but it needs to apply a 10% overhead to specific accounts related to administration costs during the data load process. So the goal is to load actual expenses into PBCS, but for certain accounts, like in this case admin related expenses, we need to add 10% overhead to the loaded account. This logic should apply automatically during the data integration process using a logic group. So these accounts, you can say these are the various sort of overheads, and they have another account. Let's say 6000 is the account ID. This is miscellaneous overhead account. Now the logic group will be created because the company wants 10% overhead on this, and this 10% is supposedly it is coming from 6210. So the value on 6000 will be 10% of 8000. That means 800. This amount has to be loaded on the account 6000. So this is all the basic understanding of how the logic is created, why it is to be created, what is the need. So as I explained, the need is that these figures for certain accounts, they do not exist in the source file, and they have to be calculated on certain accounts which are getting loaded. So 10% of 6210 account is to be loaded on the account 6000, which is let's say it is miscellaneous overhead account. So the figure is coming on the calculation, on 10% calculation on the account 6210. So now let us see the file that we're going to load, and let's see the steps that is followed in the application. So the file which I'm going to load will be having expenses here. You can see these are different sort of expenses: advertising, public relations, warehousing, and on the office supplies. Office supplies, the figure would be 10% of the utilities. So I have taken all these accounts. This is the data to be loaded. Here if you see all these accounts, these are various overheads, and we haven't taken here office supplies, which is the code 7460. Account ID is 7460 because we do not have data to load on it. It is dependent on this account 7410. It is dependent on this utility account. So 10% of this expense goes to the office supplies. So let us see the steps in the application. Here in the application I have logged in as the administrator. So we will go to the application, and here under data exchange we're going to create the source and target application. So you can see the source application has been created already. The name is file and category is data source, and type is also file because we are loading data from CSV file. Next I will create the target application. So category is EPM local, application is vision, and here I will take it as input queue plan 1. Now let's go to the navigator, and we'll go to data management and create the import format. Click on add to create a new import format. and we will give the name as overhead. Source is file. Target we're going to select, and file type is delimited numeric data. Now here we're going to provide the structure of the file that we're going to load. Account lies in the field 1. I will show you again. This is the file I'm going to load. Account lies in the field 1, column 1, entity in the second column, and amount is in the third column. Now since these other dimensions are not there in our file, so I am here providing a random field number, and also I am providing the member on which I'm going to load this data under expressions. Now here we have created the import format. Now we'll go to create the logic group. Here first select the target application, and here we're going to click on add to create a new logic group. I will give it the name as overhead underscore logic. And see, now logic type is of two types: simple logic and complex logic. A simple logic group enables you to derive logic items only from the source account dimension, whereas a complex logic group enables you to derive logic items from any combination of dimensions. And here we have to define the logic group. So the logic that we are doing, it is only from the source account dimension, so I am going to take it as simple logic. And now description is optional. I will save this. Now here you can see this is created. Now let's see the logic group fields are here. So first we have the item. So here we have to specify the name of the logic account using the item field. So the logic account that is named in the item field is displayed in the Workbench grid as the source account. So the source account over here is A-7460. Description is optional. So basically this is the source account, and this ID A-7460, this doesn't exist in the target. This is the office supplies account in ERP, and here in the target, when we have to take this account, we just have to calculate 10% of the utilities. That is why we are using logic group over here. Now next is description. So the description that you enter here is displayed in the account description field in the Workbench, and this is optional. Next we'll come to the criteria type. The operator in the criteria type field works with the source account that is specified in the criteria value field to determine from which source account the logic account is derived. Now, one logic account can be derived from multiple source account. The valid values for the type field are in, between, and like. So if you take in here, this is used to include one source account or a list of non-sequential source account. Like if you have to here in this case, this is one account A-7460, and if there is another account, let's say S-7115. So when there is the account IDs from the source are not in sequence, then we use in. Next is between, this one. So this is used when a range of source account is specified in the criteria value field. So there is a range, let's say from 7400 to 7410, basically 7400, 74010203, like this go on until 7410. There are source accounts that have to be mapped over here. Then we're going to use between. So basically when there is a range, we going to use between. And lastly is like. So this is used when the source account in the criteria value field contain wildcard characters, like there are asterisks or there is a question mark. So then we use this criteria value field. Okay, now here we're going to use in because we have a non-sequential source account right now. Then criteria value is the account on which we are doing the calculation. So account is basically 7410. This is the account ID. 10% of 7410 will go to the account 7460. Now next is the operator. These are math operators, that is plus, minus, multiplication, division. So if this is selected, then the new logic records has an amount that equals the original amount, is calculated with the specified value or expression. For example, here when operator multiplication is selected, then the new record has the items multiplied with the original amount. So here we're going to select the operator, and value here we're going to find the 10% of the account 7410. So in this value expression, we have given the amount to perform calculations. And then sequence, this field specifies the order in which the logic accounts are processed. So order specification enables one logic account to be used by another logic account, provided that the dependent account is processed first. So we will provide the sequence here as well. And here we're going to click on the export. Now this is the logic group we have created. I will save this. Now I will create location and attach the logic group with it. We'll give the location name as overhead. Attach the import format. Save this. And this is now logic account group. I will attach the logic account group that I have created, and I will save this. Now we'll go to the workflow tab, and here we'll provide the data load mapping. Period we are taking as January 22. Now account, if you see here, all these accounts exist. So we, for the account dimension, we're going to do like mapping, which is star to star. But also here in the logic group we have one account A-7460 that is to be loaded, that doesn't exist in the application. So for that we're going to provide the explicit mapping. Target value, this has to be mapped with 7460. And for rest of the account members, I will do the like mapping. For other dimension also I will do like mapping. Now we will create the data load rule. Upload the file that is to be loaded. And now we will execute. So data load has been completed. We'll go to the data load workbench here. Now if you see the source entity 210, we are getting entity 210. This has properly been mapped and loaded. Source account, all the accounts were there. A-7460, we have done explicit mapping. This has been loaded to 7460. Now we will see the amount. The logic which we had provided is that 7460 would be 10% of 7410. So if you see, 10% of 25,000 is 2,500. So I'm not able to connect right now to the smart view. Let me show you in the workbench itself. You can see this is the data which has been loaded. And we are successfully getting on 7460, we are getting 10% of 7410. So logic group helps us in automating data transformations like overhead calculations during the data load process, and it saves the manual effort. It ensures consistency by applying the logic in the same way every time data is loaded. Now next time, for this is for the month of January 22 I've loaded. Now for February 22, the same way the logic has already been created and attached. Now the February figure for 7410 will change. Simultaneously, the figure for 7460 will get calculated. So it enables complex business rules to be applied without altering the source data manually. So that's it for today. If you have any queries, you may contact at www.bispsolutions.com. Thank you.